So hello and welcome to the Dharma Life podcast. Each week we interview thought leaders who are changing the world with their work. And this week I have an amazing guest all the way from Thailand, Champ Parinya. I'm going to make sure I say it correctly. Champ Parinya is an artist, a researcher and a yogi, and he is a leading voice in the Great Awakening. Those of you may know his amazing Great Awakening map. And I wanted to get him on the podcast because I really wanted to hear his wisdom about how he downloaded this incredible, incredible piece of art. And it's just so poignant for what is happening on the planet at the moment. So Champ, welcome to the Dharma Life podcast.
Thank you for having me on Dharma Life. It's wonderful to see you live in person.
And Champ and I have become like Instagram buddies. We've just become friends over the course of the last couple of months. And it's just wonderful to make connections with incredible people like yourself. So do you mind sharing with our audience about who you are, what you do currently in the world?
I think most people on your show may know me from my Instagram page. Mm-hmm. It's called 5D Awakening Consciousness. And this Instagram page has close to 100,000 followers. And it's been active for, I think, about 2 years. And within these 2 years, I've been sharing the Great Awakening map. And the Great Awakening map, when it was released in mid-2018, this map was my creation of a one-page meme that would contain as many red pills and rabbit holes as you can fit on one page. And I designed this meme as a way to awaken humanity as quickly as possible. So releasing it on my Instagram is what helped me gain my following over the past 2 years. So just recently, I've been coming out more as the creator of the map, because when I first released it, I released it anonymously, and it stayed that way for a good year. But as time came on, people wanted me to talk about it and interview me. So I decided to put my name with the map, and now I'm willing to share more about it personally, because I think the time is right. The time is now to start to talk about it, because when it was released, not a lot of people were awakening that quickly yet. But on Instagram in the past 2 years, there's been millions and millions of new awakened minds who have found the type of information that I'm sharing on my Instagram page, ascension knowledge, as you may know. So this is a time for the podcast. This is the time for the interviews. This is a time to finally help people to understand it deeper if they want to go as deep as possible.
Well, just so you know, I'm getting full body energy rushes, which is definitely confirmation. You know, for everybody listening, this is our time. You know, Champ's totally right. You know, we really have to step into our power and make sure that we are leading lights and voices in this great awakening. So can you take us back? I really want to get into the map, but before we get there, I want to understand your journey. You know, what we do on the Dharma Life podcast is we get people like yourselves who are thought leaders, who are making a difference with their work, but we get you to share your journey. You know, I believe everybody has a spiritual purpose. Everybody has a higher purpose to their life, but how do we tune into it? How do we find it? So can you just tell us a little bit about your upbringing and, you know, essentially your awakenings and the pivotal moments in your life?
So I'm an American citizen, but my ethnicity is Thai. I grew up in America my whole life. I lived in Los Angeles for the past 35 years. And I was a graphic designer, a freelance graphic designer working at home for 10 years, let's say 10 years. And after I graduated UC Irvine, I was working as a freelance graphic designer, staying at home every day. I had hours and hours to do anything I wanted to. And during this time, I was browsing YouTube, and I accidentally came across a video This is around 2008.
Mm-hmm.
I came across a video that was about Saturn. And on the top of the planet Saturn, there's this huge hyperdimensional hexagonal cloud pattern. And I had never seen something like this in my entire life. And I've been a Trekkie and a Star Wars fan, and I've been obsessed with space for as long as you can imagine. So for me to see something like this in our own solar system, it made me sort of terrified, because how can something this large and this amazing be in our solar system, yet nobody talks about it? Nobody understands how the physics is involved with the cloud patterns making these perfectly hexagonal angles on the top of Saturn. You can fit 10 Earths within this hexagon. That's how large it is. So for me, I was so curious. I started to research the researcher who made the YouTube video. His name is Richard Hoagland.
Okay.
And he's very well known in the ascension community. So I woke with being obsessed with Richard Hoagland's work. And he also taught me about all the pyramids on Mars and the moon and throughout the solar system, all the ancient artifacts that have been hidden from mankind since as long as we can imagine. So my awakening began through that route. And I started to learn about consciousness and meditation through David Wilcock. And fast forward, 10 years go by. I've amassed so many amazing researchers throughout my 10 years of being a graphic designer / researcher. So you can imagine, as I was looking through your videos yesterday, I saw that you had interviewed Bashar. I studied Bashar's work for years, 7+8 years.
Wow.
And his knowledge is the reason why I was able to become the person I am today. His knowledge helped me to be fearless and courageous throughout my spiritual awakening. I learned so much from Bashar. I still learn from him whenever I play one of his videos. It's like I'm coming home to the knowledge that I once knew. And the more that I get older, the more I realize how priceless his knowledge was for getting me through the dark night of the soul, for getting me through financial troubles, depression, you name it. He got me through the toughest moments of my life just from listening to his messages. And he helped me find out how to make my dreams come true. He taught me how to manifest properly. Being
Can
a
you give us an
researcher,
example of something that you did, or like something that you applied, like for people
for
listening?
Bashar,
Yeah, just an example of how you used his work and how it impacted you. Because for people listening, I'm sure they'll be really curious.
anything you want in life has already existed. You just have to match the vibration of that timeline. So if you want to travel, for example, this is a very popular dream that everybody wants to do. If you want to travel, you have to imagine how happy you would be if you were getting on a plane tomorrow. That feeling of joy is how you have to feel right now. Even before you get on the plane, you have to feel as happy as you could be, as if you were already living that dream. And then this is how the universe pulls that timeline to you. You have to match the timeline of the dream of your choice. And then you have to always, always feel grateful inside that it's going to come true, that it's already coming true. Gratitude is one of the most powerful vibrations in the universe, next to love. I think they're the same thing. And gratitude will pull timelines to you like you could have never imagined. Just feeling thankful for everything in your life will tell the universe that it should keep sending you more things to make you happy. If people are worried and constantly telling the universe that they want to have something, they're lacking something, they need something, the universe is going to listen to that as giving you the same energy that you're giving it. It's not going to make you get rid of your want or your need. You're going to keep wanting and wanting, and you're not going to get it. But if you want it, you have to thank the universe that you've already got it, that it's coming. And then the universe will say, that's the vibration I'm going to match for them. And
Absolutely.
that's how it works.
And such a poignant conversation for where we're at in our own evolution. You know, we have a choice at the moment to put our energy into this higher ascension timeline. You know, what you're describing there is so relevant to our audience and to the awakened people on the planet, because the more we focus on ascension, the more we focus on Nezra, on Gezra, on the world, unity consciousness, where we want to be, who we want to be, and how we want this world to look, the quicker it will manifest. So such great advice, Champ. But so talk to me, I'm fascinated about this. So obviously you had this beautiful awakening, you went deep, you researched, you studied Bashar's work, David Wilcox. Talk to me about how the map started to get downloaded to you. Like, what was it? Just how did it come into your existence?
Oh, that's a really fun question. 2 years ago is when I designed the map. But I have been a researcher, I told you, remember, for 10 years, 10 plus years. Since 2008, when I found that video of the hexagon on Saturn, I considered myself a researcher in that entire time. So in 10 years, I didn't write a book or anything. I had all this knowledge in my head. But I'm an artist. I'm a designer. So I said, what are you doing? You're a designer. Why don't you make something that's going to change the world? And maybe fast forward a few years back, I had experimented with psychedelics, such as mushrooms and DMT. So I wasn't just a casual psychedelic explorer. I took it to the max. I followed.
You researched it.
I researched it with Terence McKenna. Yes. Everything that Terence McKenna taught, I used his methods and his techniques. And I had the best journeys of my life. I never had bad trips like most people. And I was very, very fortunate that psychedelics played a very healthy and successful role in my life.
Wow.
So the mushrooms would always taunt me, and they would always say, what are you doing? You're a designer and you haven't even done anything to change the world. Do something, show the world who you really are. So the mushroom would say funny things like this to me, you know, and it's always been something like, what am I waiting for? Now's the time. So QAnon had just become popular 2 years ago. And QAnon prompted me to make the map, because so many Anons were awakening politically to all the truths of reality. But they had not yet known too much about the secret space program, which was my specialty. Talking about the secret space program is one of the deepest, darkest topics you could ever go down the rabbit hole. So being a graphic designer, it came naturally to create the Great Awakening map. It was my creation alone, and I only designed it within the span of a weekend. And then it took me 1 week to finalize the layout and the design. And then I released it on Instagram immediately.
Wow.
But
sorry, carry on.
But before I sat down to make the map, I made a very, very intentional prayer. And I said to the universe, I'm going to need your help channeling this information. I'm going to make a 1-page meme, and I need this to be the best thing I've ever made, because I want to awaken the world. So let's do this. So I kind of made the intention to have this higher dimensional knowledge channeled through me, through my higher self, through my higher mind, angels, all of the above. And within the weekend, the design was laid out, the information was coming. And then over the course of the week, like I told you, I had finalized the design and then released it on Instagram. And then the rest is history. Amazing. 2 years has flown by. Yeah.
Amazing. And for people listening, you know, hopefully you can hear in Champ's sharing, like, his background being a graphic designer was all part of his plan. Not that he knew it. Well, you know, we don't necessarily, we're always being prepared for this higher purpose, and the things that we are doing work-wise, that we're attracted to, that we completely, like you doing all the research into the space programs, you were following your highest excitement. You know, you were doing the things that came naturally to you, that you totally loved, and all of this has culminated in this incredible map. Like, if you're listening to this, if you're watching YouTube and you haven't checked out Champ on Instagram and this map, please go and look at it. I bought it. It's, yeah, you can see it behind in the picture. there is so much detail. Every time I look at it, I see something else. And you were totally channeling. Like, it's just incredible the level of detail that you have got in that map. Can you, for people listening, because I love the process you just talked about, like you set a clear intention to work with your higher self, maybe yourself in different dimensions, who knows? But can you maybe walk us through that in a bit more detail? Because this is the time, everybody listening to this, you came here on earth for this time, for this great awakening. The quicker you can access and get connected to your higher self, your purpose, you know, Champs are just an incredible example of somebody who's tuned in. So could you talk us through, you know, maybe for people listening, how they can connect, how they can do something similar? I know you're big into meditation as well, aren't you?
Meditation was a big part of why I was able to create the map. I've been meditating for over 12 years now, since I learned about it through my spiritual awakening. But I'll just name drop Dolores Cannon, because I think your audience knows who she is. Dolores Cannon was also a huge figure in my awakening. I also was lucky enough to meet her in Lodi, California, one time.
Wow.
So I was very close to her teachings and her work, and I followed her for as long as I can remember. And she always said that the lightworkers and starseeds were all born with creative talents. And if you are spiritually awakening, reading the type of knowledge that she shares, you were born with some sort of special talent that would be used in awakening humanity at this time. So there's musicians, artists, designers, writers, chefs, everybody who has a very special talent that's going to be used during the ascension of humanity, during our consciousness renaissance, during the 5D awakening. So I always knew that graphic design and art would be something that I would have to use to awaken humanity. And it's not always quite clear when you are younger, but as I became past my 30s, and I'm 35 now, so I started to realize that this is it. There's not going to be any other time. Now is the time for me to make my best work. Now is the time for me to create every day for the intention of awakening humanity. There's no other reason. There's no other good reason for me to keep these talents for my own personal gain. When I was living in Los Angeles, before I moved to Thailand, I was exhibiting at galleries in LA. And my last art show was guest curated with LACMA and Mocha. These are very well-known galleries in California. So I came out of this contemporary art career kind of having felt that I had done everything I wanted to do since art school. And I said to myself, I need to get out of here. I need to leave Los Angeles. I need to go and live in Asia, because I needed to start a new life. I was obsessed with meditation, being a yogi. A Dzogchen yogi is what I practice. Dzogchen is a teaching of the Vajrayana school of Buddhism. So if anybody wants to know more about Dzogchen and its teaching of the non-dual mind, maybe we can talk about that later on the show. But this is how I came to channel my creative energy. I realized that creative energy is something that is divine. It wasn't quite apparent to me when I was a liberal in art school, you know. But fast forward 10 years out of art school, here I am. I'm starting to realize that the spirit is involved with creativity. It already knows what it needs to make. You're just the vehicle for it to express itself consciously in this three-dimensional realm. And the information we channel is higher dimensional. It's 5D, 6D plus. And as the artist, I'm just the messenger, trying to visually communicate my thoughts, its thoughts, the universe's thoughts, in a way that it will raise the consciousness of our planet. And it manifests in different forms. Graphic design, writing, typography. These are some of my skills that I use with Instagram. Instagram is very heavy with writing. You have to be a good writer, as well as posting good memes, understanding how to properly post memes about very complex topics, but do it in a way that is very entertaining. So this information warfare that we're in against the deep state is very real. And artists and designers are the front line because we are the ones designing these memes. And we're designing it in a way that will enter the public consciousness as quickly and as efficiently as possible without having to read books and books of knowledge. They can see one meme and understand an entire academia of knowledge within 1 second. It's very powerful. It's very telepathic. It's on the verge of telepathy because telepathy is instantaneous, and the meme is very close to being an instantaneous unit of thought. The smallest unit of thought is the definition of a meme. So we're very close to the 5D transition into telepathy.
Fantastic. Wow. Yes, so much I kind of want to comment on. What a journey. So this map is just a must for anybody on this ascension journey, which all of us are. What's your, how are you holding what's happening at the moment? And do you have any kind of predictions about the next 4 years? You know, from what I understand, you know, the old paradigm is going to be breaking down, and obviously this new golden age is coming to fruition. You know, let's put ourselves on this timeline now. Let's talk about where we want to go. What do you foresee happening over the course of the next 4 years?
Every time somebody asks me for that type of future prediction, the same answer is always true. You're going to start to see the world become more peaceful, and then you're also going to see the world becoming crazier because the duality is going to rise and to go lower. The new earth is going to be for those who have the consciousness to see the new earth, the consciousness to manifest the new earth. And then you're going to see the old earth go down and disappear, but you're going to see it kicking and screaming as it leaves our reality. So as more and more people awaken, more and more darkness is going to be revealed, but then that also prompts the light to take over. And then that is how we end up moving closer toward world peace and then cosmic peace. Because when our world becomes peaceful, the entire cosmos becomes more peaceful. We are interconnected with the ET races who are custodians of our planet. They're waiting for us to jump our consciousness into 5D so they can move into 6D. We're all connected together. So world peace is cosmic peace. All the beings want this to happen. It's going to happen. It's written in destiny. They've viewed the future timelines. It's just which timeline are we going to take to get there? It's already a given that a peaceful 5D future is ahead of us. It's just now we are heading toward that direction. We're already on the train. People are trying to jump off the train because they don't get it. They don't know that the train is already heading there. And they see things happening in the world that they believe affects them, but it really doesn't. They may be at home watching the news and they feel fearful for what they see on the news, but if they look around in their room, they're still alive, they're still healthy, they have a home, they have food, money, water. They're living in peace. Their vibration is peaceful, their consciousness is peaceful. But they're trying to latch on to these other realities that aren't theirs, and they want to feel fearful, and they want to feel depressed, like they have to change the world, but they can't. So we have to remember our reality is creating the future for the rest of the world. Our consciousness should stay peaceful and loving at all times, no matter where we are. This is going to help the entire world ascend into a higher dimensional reality. When we are all at peace personally, that is how the world begins to change. That is how the future timelines unfold peacefully, for not just for us, but for everybody. So that's the job of the light is to hold that energy, be the antenna that broadcasts and manifests the perfect future for everybody.
So in short, kind of really focus on your own peace, your own journey, making sure that you feel centered, that you feel grounded on a daily basis, knowing that everything is working out for our best case scenario, being on that higher timeline.
We have to be constantly thankful that we are healthy and alive every day, every moment. And the more that we feel thankful for little things, that's how the big things come into our life. That's how the big changes come, the miracles. Being thankful all the time for little things creates the tidal wave for the miracles to come. And then you start to see it in the world. You start to see world peace. You start to see peace spread across other continents like it is now. You just have to look for it through the eyes of an awakened individual, an awakened one, not somebody who's lost and ignorant and angry and depressed about the world. You have to see the world through somebody who's awakened, that they know the future is positive. They know that change begins within.
Beautiful. And what advice do you have for our listeners who, maybe in the last couple of months since Corona's kicked off, they've awakened and they're listening to this podcast, they're finding people like you and I. What advice do you have for them in this time?
If you are at home during this world quarantine, your job is to enjoy the peace, because this time is for you to find yourself and to find the truth of the world. There's so many truths about COVID that you can research on your own through social media. You shouldn't watch the news or read newspapers or blogs, but you should spend time on Twitter and Instagram and maybe Facebook groups and learn the truth about what's really going on in the world. You're going to go down the rabbit hole and realize that this disease was something that was planned by negative groups to sort of steer humanity toward a negative timeline. But it didn't work. The virus didn't kill millions and millions of people like they wanted it to. So with this type of knowledge, we start to realize that there are divine protections in place for us. Earth is headed toward a future of peace. It's not headed toward World War III anymore, like the deep state wanted to. Our world and all the countries in it are headed toward a peaceful future. And this is the time for people to awaken by learning as much as you can about what's really happening in this world. You're going to find different topics that branch off from this disease that will help people understand the big picture of what this disease is, why it happened, and where we're headed next after this. And I don't think anybody should have any fear over it. It is a real flu. You can get sick, but it is just not as deadly as the seasonal flu that we have every year. So just remember that what you see on the media is designed to keep people in fear and control. And this is a time for us to live and to awaken by using this time to find out what's really going on.
Beautiful. And can you just speak to, people who are curious about their own part, what they can do? Because once we awaken, and like you said, we go down the rabbit hole and we kind of go through that process of, oh my goodness, hopefully we get to the point where we want to contribute, where we start to use our voice, where we step into our power, we step into our purpose. So can you just, any advice from yourself who is a little bit further on in the journey?
When someone begins to awaken, they should practice meditation. Meditation is the cure-all for everything in their life. It's very hard to imagine that when you first hear about meditation. But the misconceptions and the assumptions we have about meditation are just the ego. It means the ego is still very, very powerful in somebody's consciousness. And the ego has its purposes, but at times it's very, very intrusive to the spiritual awakening. So meditation is very important. Everybody should learn a technique. First, there's many techniques. So find what comes to you first. Find what seems like something that would be enjoyable for you. Like myself, I changed my meditation technique many times over the past 10 years. What I started out learning is not the same thing as what I practice now. So trust your higher self. What you find is something that you need to take for that first step. And meditation is about calming the mind and opening your consciousness, opening your heart, when you start to open your consciousness, your vibration increases. When your vibration increases, you become more blissful and you become more able to manifest your dreams quicker. I think everybody needs to understand that meditation helps you manifest your dreams much, much quicker, because your mind is becoming more pure and purified. And as your mind becomes more purified, you start to manifest instantaneously. Miracles start happening to you.
We're aligned, aren't we? Like,
are endless. So meditation is the most important tool, weapon, power that you could have awakening. First thing everybody should do is practice meditation. Even if you don't know how, just close your eyes at night before bed and just feel peace. This is one way. There's many ways. So raising your consciousness also deals with changing your diet. Make sure you eat a high vibe diet, organic foods. Try to avoid fluoride water. Try to use bath and body products that are organic. This will help detox your body from any chemicals you've been carrying around with you since you were born. Once you detox your body and start eating lighter, healthier foods, smoothies in the morning are very helpful because they contain such dense nutrients in a liquid form that is a high surface area. It goes and digests in your body very quickly. And it's one of the most powerful forms of food that Dolores Cannon recommended for our times, for people who are ascending. So the diet is very important, diet and meditation. Everything else that comes after that is just part of your spiritual journey. What comes next for you is going to be different for what comes next for somebody else.
Absolutely. Wonderful. Really, really fantastic advice. Thank you, Champ. I could talk to you all day. But can you tell us where people can find you? People listening to this, obviously Instagram, is that the best place?
My website is greatawakeningnmap.co. We can download the map for free. I also have a small shop where I sell 5D gifts. Anything that you donate or contribute helps me to stay as a wandering Dzogchen yogi. Everything helps me keep my lifestyle. So thank you so much. And my Instagram is 5D Awakening Consciousness.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And if you're listening on YouTube, please make sure you subscribe so you can hear other amazing thought leader interviews. We're going to be every week releasing these interviews. And Champ, you're about to go on to do a podcast on YouTube too as well. Is that right?
I just released my first podcast and I plan to have a YouTube channel as well. So this is my next little project that I will be doing in addition to maintaining my Instagram account.
Amazing. Amazing. So go and check out this amazing man, please, online, and let us know what you think of this interview in the comments. Please tag me and Champ when you listen to this episode on Instagram. We love to hear from you. Champ, thank you so much. Just a pleasure. Namaste.
Thank you so much for having me on your show.
And we will see you next week with another amazing guest on the Dharma Life podcast. Thank you so much for listening to the Dharma Life podcast. I do hope you enjoyed this episode. Please come over and say hello on my Instagram, our Facebook group, and also please let me know what you thought. So if you are listening, please take a screenshot of the podcast that you are listening to. Tag me on Instagram and I will reshare your post, and please let me know what it is that you got out of today's episode. Remember, when we do our Dharma, we are happier, healthier, we live longer, and we have a deep sense of unshakable inner peace.